where we last left our intrepid adventurers, they had wandered into a room where they were fighting a sphere of power that was taking all the like metal garbage and turning into like constructs to fight the party.
Yeah, it was like a hovering sphere-ish thing. They didn't really see it because when they got close, a whole bunch of blue threadworms came out with little pink eyes and turned into this huge turning sphere of stuff. Made a shell out of magical garbage, charged that up, built minions out of that when it exploded, and then reformed the shell. And they'd been cutting it long enough that it had done that again, had the shell, charged it up, and exploded. And the minions, they found that basically attacking it when it had shell up was almost useless. It divided their damage by 10. And I was actually keeping track of like the decimals essentially. So they would hit, I did 19 damage. Okay, that does 1.9 damage. But then the shell would explode, creating new minions, but it was vulnerable for a round where they hammered on it, almost killed it, and then it had reformed its shell, and that's where we left off, and that's where we started.
Yeah. So we're in sort of a desperate fight.
Although at this point things had gone pretty well. You wiped out the minions.
It was shielded again, and it had. Oh wait, was it? Yes, it was shielded again, and there were a bunch of minions. Minions around, including those nasty swarm things.
Yeah, swarms of like magical bits of shrapnel, basically.
Really nasty.
So the room was a catwalk with the sphere in the middle, and then down below was all this magical machinery, which was being ripped apart to form.
So essentially, he was sitting around all the ammunition he ever needed.
Yeah.
What kind of a jerk DM is running it? Go on.
Well. So, and I should mention...
Yeah, you think my encounters are hard.
I should mention, Cricket is the party leader.
By vote.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
They make the pacifist the party leader.
Make the slave the party leader.
Yeah. Well, they ordered her to.
Yeah.
She objected. She said, I'm really not very good at this. And they were like, no, you're the leader. And she's like, all right. I'll do as I'm told. She's actually been getting okay at it. As I discussed in the car ride on the way home, my original character concept for Cricket has changed a bit now that I'm actually playing. She's very much very adaptable. That whole Bard of all trades thing fits very well. You know, she's been thrown into all kinds of situations that are just completely outside of her area of expertise, but she's been told to do it, and then she's running with it and getting actually quite good at it. I mean, even just fighting is not something that she's trained for.
You were mentioning an ASCGM because I was thinking later in the fight people use their second wind, and I was like, I don't recall ever using my second wind. Man, the GMs I played with must not be as mean as me.
Yeah.
You know the characters are hurting when they start using second wind.
Yeah, wasting a standard action just to get a quarter hit point.
Yeah. How hard were the enemies hitting them?
Well, it was individually they weren't that bad, but this thing would keep making them.
And it was basically invulnerable when it had that shell up, and so then they had to just deal with these minions. And the really nasty thing was the swarm, because it not only did it attack you on its turn, but it auto-attacked everyone adjacent to it at the beginning of its turn, or of their turn. So.
And this wasn't a very mobile fight. It was taking place on a catwalk. So we couldn't really get away from the swarm that easy. And we had to stay right near that sphere's shell thing so that when it blew open, we'd be able to...
Yeah, because they had to be just ready to hit that thing when it blew open. And what happened is there was basically two approaches to the center where the sphere was, and they were right on those two pieces. And like Hank was here and Aurora was here. And then there are these grabbers that the thing made, which come in and crush you. And grabbers came up from both sides and basically trapped them there. So the only way to get away was like jump off the catwalk. And so they were kind of trapped there. And then the swarm came in and starts slicing them up. And
Cricket is fortunate to be a ranged fighter, so she wound up pulling back a ways. But only after she had used up her throw herself in the path of danger abilities.
Well, and they hammered this thing. The first time it became vulnerable, they all spent their action points. They all blew all their dailies on it, and they really, I thought they were going to kill it, but they had some unlucky rolls at the end, and so it was pretty low on health. But
fortunately, we used up all our unlucky rolls on that.
But it means they didn't have anything really good left when they were fighting the minions, and they knew they'd be, because it took a round to form the shield, a round to charge, and then the last one it had blown up on the third round, so they knew they had to at least survive a couple rounds.
So it was a nasty fight with these minions for a while. One of the grabbers got Cricket by the horn, and John later said that he was totally going to have that grabber crush her horn. That would have been horrible. He would have halved her resale value right there.
But it missed on that attack. Yeah. No, you got away.
I pulled away.
Yeah, he did this stupid little tricky thing where, so the way it worked, it wasn't a true grab. It was like my cat's thing where you could move, but the grabber would automatically be able to follow you and go to any adjacent space if you move. So Cricket moved to a space where there were no adjacent spaces, except off the catwalk, which he could have done, but there was no reason to do that.
So I moved to a space that had no adjacent spaces, and then I used some stuff that rearranged the battlefield and got him back the grabber thing far away again. Yeah, it was a weird maneuver, but it worked out well for me.
And it actually kind of made sense in the flavor too, because you kind of hid behind Aderon so it couldn't get a hold of you.
Yeah.
So it not only made sense by the rules, but it also kind of made sense in your imagination too.
Because I'm able to pass through allies, but it's not. So, anyway, Aderon is a person. So, let's see now. Aurora wound up jumping off the catwalk.
But she was just getting shredded by that shot. First, actually, what happened was Aurora went down, and so Hank climbed over the shell. It hadn't charged up yet, so he climbed over the shell to the other side of the catwalk to give her a potion, which he did. But then the swarm was right there, and he just started just shredding both of them, and they were both almost dead again. So Aurora jumped. She was prone because she couldn't get up because there was no space to get up because Hank was standing on her space. So she was stuck there prone. So she squeezed through the bars of the catwalk and jumped down onto a tall piece of machinery below. So her eyes were right at catwalk floor level, and continued using things that let Hank attack from there. But she wasn't getting shredded by shrapnel anymore, which was quite good. That the grabber had come by and it had crushed her leg, and those grabbers were nasty. What they did is they got you once, so she did a little bit of damage, but if you didn't get away before their next turn, they would do this massive crush that really hurt. People had their legs crushed and their chests crushed and attempted horn crush.
Yeah, Mika, I like your campaigns. Except, for some reason, every time we do a fight in your campaigns where it's like, aha, there's some gimmick. I don't care, we're just going to keep attacking. I don't know.
That's not my fault.
That's completely your fault. You know who you're playing with.
Well, there wasn't too much they could generally do about it. Cricket did that one thing to get away, but there was only so much you could do. And I mean, it was actually getting kind of desperate because things they managed to hold off against the minions, and they were doing okay. Croesus was nailed down with this one swarm forever. No, a grabber, and they were trading blows, but eventually he just ran away from it to come to save the other characters who were really suffering. And then they were they'd held on for the shell forming and the charge up, and then instead of exploding, it shot a big bolt of lightning and zapped Hank.
Yep.
And didn't explode and didn't become vulnerable.
Oh no!
And it was actually kind of interesting because what happened was when it had turned on, all the machinery and the lights in the room had come on, and then when that happened, they all turned off and they came back on, but about a third third of them on the far radius didn't come back on, so it like was.
So we figured it only had 3 shots in it.
But it snap tanked and then, basically drained some of its major energy, I guess. But then it didn't explode. It didn't become vulnerable, and it was clear that at least it had 3 shots of that, and they were already suffering.
Yeah. So we continued fighting these minions, and just barely hanging on. Let's see, were there any other really dramatic moments in there?
There was, oh right. That's why we didn't tell him the retelling, because this is the retelling with the snake boomerang bees.
Oh right, the snake boomerang bees. This is a reference to previous retelling.
No, right. It happened right at the end of it.
Right at the end of...
Oh right, yes, it was last time.
Right at the end of last session, Aderon did this thing where he threw a javelin at the orb, and it turned into a snake as it flew, because Aderon does that. And it missed, but he has this ability that lets him, on a miss, do a basic attack on someone else, on a different enemy.
That's neat.
And the basic attack is Aderon throws the javelin and it turns into a swarm of bees. So he threw a javelin, it turned into a snake. The snake missed, it boomeranged around to a different enemy and turned into bees. So everyone was like, "Oh, that was so awesome, that boomerang bee snake thing you did." So yeah, it was mentioned in the interviews last time, but we never actually mentioned it in the
retelling, so it was very confusing.
Weird. All those interviews were like, "Oh yeah, that boomerang bee snake," and it was like, "Yeah, I've seen Aderon do bees, hawk, snake before, but never snake, bees, boomerang."
What class is Aderon again? Or what race?
Seeker.
Seeker is it's like a primal, nature controller.
Yeah, controller with a bow.
Croesus was quite instrumental because when he finally disengaged from that grabber and came and marked the swarm, that changed everything, because I wasn't entirely sure, but it looked like from the wording that when you did its aura attack, it did separate attacks on each person, not as a multi-attack. It was very strangely worded. So I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt, and so it started only attacking Croesus. But the wording was aura 1, it makes an attack, it makes the following attack against each person in the aura. And so, it wasn't clear to me.
I call that an AoE.
I was thinking of doing that too, but they were in serious trouble.
Yeah.
It wasn't clear, so I gave them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, at that point.
Come on,
especially because there was no escape either. Well, they hadn't tried to.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, actually,
it had blocked the door.
Yeah.
Interestingly,
but I mean, you guys hadn't tried to knock it down or anything.
Yeah, and interestingly, at this point, was when it shot its first zap and the lights went off, I had actually planned that's when, before it had really electrified, it'd be really hard to get through that junk in the door, but after that happened, it was really easy to just pull it aside, but I never tried it after that, because why would you?
Yeah. So this whole thing basically opens up itself to vulnerability to spawn more enemies.
Yeah.
And when it does that, you have to start wailing on it. And then when it closes, you have to fight the enemies.
Right. Yeah.
So it's very RPG boss-like.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
my original plan with the whole thing is I'm going to make a Zelda boss, and then it had to be different because it's tactical, because Zelda's an action game. But anyway, that's where it evolved from, is a Zelda boss. Even down to the you've got it weak. Well, now it pulls out its really nasty attack, which was a lightning zapping thing. And I did come up with some reason why I didn't use it, because as it continued to use that, next time it drained more, and then finally it used it again, and all the lights in the room went out. None of the machinery was running anymore, so it was, that's why it didn't open with that attack, because it sucked for it. But it definitely did have the thing. Basically, the main enemy itself did nothing except for spawn minions, but until the end, when it started doing when it revealed its true form. But it didn't reveal any form.
So did they finish the fight, or is it still going on?
We finished.
Did you hear it?
So after it had zapped it 3 times, it finally exploded to create more minions. And they hadn't killed that many minions. And it rolled a random amount of minions, and I rolled really high finally. I've been rolling low. So, like, it spawned, like, 4 grabbers and 3 lightning shooters and another swarm. And just the room filled with minions. And when the minions spawn, they also immediately act.
And that was going to just wipe us right out.
Did you roll this since there was no electricity in the room? They didn't have anything to power them?
No, we spent our group cinematic point. We were like, this is a thing John is doing as a house rule. We get these cinematic points that we can use to do cool things that are a little bit outside the rules, but they're cool. Basically, whatever we can convince him is a cool thing that we could do if this was like a movie or something. So we spent our group cinematic point and convinced him that we had been waiting for that shield to come down.
Yeah.
And so it was like a party prepared action thing.
Right.
And so we got to do a move before the minions did.
Kind of a turn, yeah.
Yeah. So
One attack.
yeah, we get to do our turn before the minions. Because when those minions go, they're just going to slaughter us.
So I basically had it so the minions didn't move on their first turn, and instead they moved on.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't move on the turn they were spawned. They didn't get a turn until after that.
Time dilated and
And so we're like, oh yes, okay.
I think it was low on hit points.
The orb has like very few hit points. Its shields are down. We're all ready to go. Let's do this. And so we start going around the table and we're like rolling our attacks and we're like throwing our remaining big guns at it. And we're rolling. Okay, there's a 5. It's okay. We got tons more attacks to go. Roll. Oh, it's a critical miss. It's all right. We still got a bunch of attacks to go. It's like, oh, I rolled an 8. Oh crap. We're starting to run low on attacks here. No, another critical miss. Oh, jeez. All right, we got 1 shot left, but it's really weak, and it's Hank that's going to go. So I'm sure he's going to do this, and it'll be really climactic. And oh, he missed. Well, I guess the minions get to go now.
Everyone's charging up for this.
And they were doing the thing where Hank, where they're giving attacks to Hank, and he must have missed at least 3 times that round.
Replace his D20.
I know there were at least 2. There were 2 critical misses in that thing, that round of actions.
oh man.
I don't know if anything hit. I don't think anything hit, did it?
I think something might have hit for a minor amount of damage. But no, something did hit, but it didn't. Yeah. So it was a pretty minor thing.
Yeah.
But yes, and then the minions got to go, and they actually, it's interesting. They were really scared of the minions going, but it actually wasn't that awful. Although the swarm missed, that made a difference. And the grabber pincher things came up, and some of it was, they got some attacks off, but also there was the fact that they were on the catwalk, so like sometimes they kind of had to line up and they couldn't really do anything.
Yeah.
They did discover that they've been trying to knock these things off the whole time, which would have been awesome because they have an ability that lets them jump 4 squares, which is the height of the catwalk.
Yeah.
So they could have just jumped back on, but they never got them off. So instead I had one jump off to attack Aurora, who was down on the ground.
Okay.
But they actually pretty easily weathered the minion thing. But the thing is, after that, the thing reforms its shield, right? So it's not just 1 round of minions; it's several rounds of minions that have to be survived.
Fortunately, Rosa still had a cinematic point and a personal cinematic point, and he convinced John to allow Process to interpose himself where the shield was going to form. So he would like block the shield from forming with his body. And it did a massive amount of damage.
20 or something?
I don't know.
I didn't do ongoing, but it did enough to. It took him out. But it did massive damage to him.
So he's now stuck in the middle of the thing.
He actually prevented, like, it all deflected off him because he's like this big defendery guy.
Okay.
So it all deflected off him, did like massive damage, dropped him unconscious, but it was vulnerable for another turn.
And he had an ability when he gets taken down.
Right.
He has something where when he gets taken down, he does what is this, a basic attack?
Probably,
on the thing that took him down.
Nice.
So he took a shot at the orb. I can't remember. Did he kill? Was he the one that killed?
I believe. Yes, I believe he was. Because the thing killed him, and he took the sword. It only had 7 hit points left.
Oh man!
Right, he didn't kill it. That's right. He hit it and did 7 hit points. because I've been tracking the decimals, it had 7.1 hit points. So I'd actually been tracking it as multiplying. So it actually had 1 hit point left, or 0.1 hit point.
Yeah.
And I let it stand. So Rosa took it, almost killed it, went unconscious, and then it has this 0.1 hit point left.
But it was open, and it was our turn. And we couldn't possibly have rolled all critical fails in a row again, right?
Wrong.
Last turn? No, actually we didn't. That was when we finally won.
Yay.
And huzzah, as I had been hoping, it was a supporting boss and all the minions collapsed.
Yeah.
And the ceiling?
No, let's stay up.
I think you should have. I think you should have left the minions alive, and then they run out of the room screaming.
In the room with the computers, and then when the boss dies, the computers.
The room was lined with computers. They didn't explode.
What? All computers. Their hard drives are completely coded in C4.
Yeah.
That's how it works. I've seen movies.
So after the fight was over, we have some frantic recuperation we do. Because we're all really, really hammered.
Been drinking robots.
We investigate the room a bit, and we discover that it's basically like the machine room for a big building. It's got air conditioners and stuff in it. And this orb thing, the orb is still there. We just killed all the worms that came out of it.
Yeah, they discovered last time that the worms are basically parasitizing this power orb thing.
Okay.
The orb's a power source. And it's severely depleted. Presumably the worms used up most of its power in this thing.
Well, and also they used up quite a bit in this fight when they depleted the room. Just think of it if you killed it some other way.
Yeah. If we got it that first round. So anyway, but it's still got some juice left in it. And whenever we bring it near machines, it turns the machines on. So you just bring it near a machine, the machine powers up. So we go to this control room with all the computers on the walls, as you mentioned, and we're trying to figure out what these things do. And the control panels only light up when we have the orb near them. And whatever they're hooked up to elsewhere in the facility isn't powered up. So we don't have a whole lot of basis to figure out what's going on. Like, we can turn the controls on, but not what they're controlling. We can't read the controls. So let's just turn everything on and leave.
Yep, that's what they did.
Yep.
Really?
Yep, we go around with the orb, turning on the control panel, flick on all the switches and push all the buttons. So then we move on, having done all the damage we can do there.
And they found some stuff in that room, some loot. They found an oud nightstick that was good for psionics, which I believe Cricket transferred the enchantment into Croesus' spear. Cool.
So
what happens when you turned everything on and decided to leave?
Well, nothing, because nothing has to be powered.
But as they
go through the facility later on, every time we pass vents, the vents start blasting out hot and cold air simultaneously and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's everywhere they go, and there's like alarm sirens that come on, like they walk into a hallway and they'll start being like whoop, 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 with like a light, but as they walk out of it, it goes away again. So like all the alarms are on, but like you're not unless you're nearby. So
that's fantastic.
So we find, I don't think we found any. Oh yes, we found the bathrooms.
At long last.
Yes, we'd been holding it for like 3 days.
But how do you operate the 3 seashells?
Yeah, there were these 2 swinging doors, and each one had like a whole bunch of weird symbols on it. But one had the old ETH, which is like Old English symbol for W, and one had for M. And so and they went in there, and there was all these stalls, but every one had some different type of facilities for a different type of race that would have been around at the time. Like they had special Penoblin facilities, and they even had like human facilities, and they had like weird food facilities, and they had all the different weird kinds of facilities that might have been appropriate.
Food toilets have a second smaller toilet hanging off the side on the hose.
What?
This Just like how Ood coins have a second smaller coin hanging off them on a wire. And if you cut the wire, the coin is valueless. No, this is not true.
The Ood exists in our campaign setting, but they're exactly the Ood from Doctor Who, the things with the brain. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, I haven't seen Doctor Who, so
It doesn't. It's just yeah. They have a brain, a second brain that comes by a tube to their mouth, which Brian thinks is ridiculous, but I say because it's vulnerable. But they protect it, and it gives them special like psionic and magical abilities.
It's stupid.
Their brains hang out of their mouth. Well, sir, second brains hang out of their mouths.
why would you take like a really critical piece of you and like hang it outside of the body?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway, they're all dead now, so I'm happy.
Yeah. They were freaks. They were freaks of non-evolution.
They deserved it. Anyway, so
In the women's bathroom, they found a rotting purse with a bunch of platinum pieces in it, next to a pile of dust. All the Ood turned to dust. That's a long story.
yeah.
Suddenly, basically, everyone who can cast magical spells turned to dust suddenly one day, a long time ago. So there's various piles of dust throughout this place, and the men's washroom, there was a pile of dust in front of a urinal, the only urinal, because the rest were other weird contrivances, with a magical spear javelin-y thing propped against it, which Aderon took.
I know, I always take my magical spear when I go pooping.
Yeah, it was just propped against the urinal, and there was a pile of dust in front of the urinal.
Yep. We had many off-color remarks about, you know, he took his staff to the bathroom. And anyway, doesn't matter. It was all dumb. So after that, we found some stairs heading up. And we went up the stairs, and we came out in the same place we were like 4 sessions ago.
You know, remember they had that maggot room, and they could kind of see on either side of it.
Oh.
They were just basically on the other side of it, like probably 5 meters, 10 meters from where they were when they last.
Oh, that is so RPG. Oh, I can't get into this room. Other side of the wall.
We probably could have gotten
Except,
that
there was
real
nothing.
easy. There was no we just didn't try.
They just didn't go over there because they were scared of there were these piranha maggots over there, and
I just didn't think there was anything worth going over there for. You know?
yeah, at that point they were exploring, right? And they chose to go a different way instead of this way. So they basically, they spent 8 sessions, went through Rip Roar's whole horrible trap fest, came around, fought this orb, came back, and they just were 10 meters from where they had left off last time. Basically after the second
Has
session.
anyone ever played Ico?
No.
I can't get across this bridge. I'm on the other side of the bridge. And the drawbridge goes down now.
Yeah. That's sort of standard Zelda kind of, but that wasn't really the intent. It was this is like a free-form explore place, and they just free-formed explored their way back to where they came from.
So the place is a sort of
but they did get the orb, which you didn't mention.
Oh yes,
they investigated the orb, and you could take it with you, and you can just set it somewhere and it stays there. You can also set it relative to a frame of reference, like on your shoulder, and it'll just follow you around. So of course, Croesus put it in front of his face and was just sitting there mesmerized by it, because it's not like it's sort of it's a undulating kind of orb with like little yellow flecks sort of undulating inside of it, and so Croesus just has it in front of his face, and whenever someone talked to him, he'd be like, let's do that, and totally not paying attention to anything. Eventually someone took the orb and put it behind his head because they couldn't get him to engage in anything.
So the place we're back in is sort of a food court. There's like tables and chairs all over the place, and some counters and booths and things. And we notice, we do a high enough perception check, we notice that there's a goblin hiding behind a table or something, watching us.
And they hear one goblin say to another, and then runs off. And so I don't know who it was. It must have been
Cricket nailed it with an arrow.
Yeah, knocked it out.
And did it non-lethal. And Croesus is like, what are you doing that for? We have to kill them.
And then the other one bolts, and they take that one out too.
Cricket nails that one too. And knocks it out. They're both unconscious. And she's like, well, we can ask them where the exit is. And so Croesus goes to, because he's the only one that speaks Goblin. Croesus goes to interrogate him that way. The crazy guy with no connection to reality is going to interrogate the Goblin.
Hold on, guys. I got this.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, little twisted ones. If you tell us where the exit to this place is, I promise I'll put you out of your misery. because the Goblin are a twisted offshoot of the Oblin. And so as far as the Oblin are concerned, they're like abominations that live in constant, torture and stuff because they're not Oblin. It's like a nightmarish existence for them. And the only thing you can do is put them out of their misery, and that's what needs to be done.
But everyone had said, if they tell us the way out, you can't kill them. And so that was his intimidate check was, I really want to kill you guys, but put you out of your misery. But they said I can't kill you if you tell us the way out of here. So don't tell us the way out of here, and then I'll be able to put you out of your misery. And the first one, I remember. Oh, he made a really poor intimidate check, and it was just kind of unsure. It was sort of like, and so he just kills it, and then everyone's like, what are you doing? Like, it's better this way. And he picks up the other one and just observes that. Basically makes the same ultimatum, right? Like, I want to put you out of your misery, but if you please don't tell us the way out, and then I will be able to.
So this one does try and tell us sort of the way out-ish. It's really not good at lying. But it tells where the Goblin tribe lives. Says, don't go that way. And says that there's that way over there, which, how did he phrase it?
Well, there's two exits to this major area.
Yeah.
And the one to the north is really scary and dangerous, and we never go there.
That's where we just.
And the one to the south, it was the one to the south is fine, and I'm pretty sure that's the way out. Yeah, that's the way out.
Oh yeah, that's it, definitely.
And eventually, he interrogates him enough to basically find out that he was telling the truth. The north way is dangerous. The south way is probably safe as far as he knows, but he's never been there. No one ever goes there, and he has no idea what's beyond there. It's just that the north way is dangerous. So.
Technically, he did sort of tell us. He told us what he knew. But Croesus is a kind and gentle soul who only wants the best for people. So he manages to double talk himself into killing this goblin. He's like, I gotta do it. I just can't let him suffer like this.
It's okay. You can sleep now.
Yeah. So we figure, okay, let's get out of here. Let's go to the south right. And so we're heading that way, and then this horrible eyeball monster thing jumps out and goes, I'm gonna fight you now.
Dear Diary, I had a really good day today. There was this swarm of little pieces of metal, sort of shrapnel, that kept hitting me, and that hurt. And then this creature thing made of metal grabbed onto my femur and crushed it, and that hurt a lot. But then, out of nowhere, everything went black, and then out of nowhere, my friend Hank came, and he fed me a potion, and I felt so much better. And I woke up, and he was standing over me, defending me, and I just knew Hank had it in him to be a defender, to be someone who stands above the person who is almost slain and saves them from shrapnel storms and crushing things, and I was really inspired by his bravery and courage. So I rolled off the catwalk quickly and managed to land on some machinery, and then something came and crushed my other foot, and that hurt a lot. But then Hank kept trying to just keep on fighting, and then he fell, and then his slobber struck me in the eye just at the moment that I was going to try to heal him, and that made it very difficult, and I wasn't able to help him the way that he had helped me. But then I remembered I had a potion, and I helped him, and it was okay. So overall, it was just a fantastic day. Alright, victory. We vanquished our foe. Turned out that the big mass of wriggling worms was just like this big, just as big as a coin. Once we shaved off all the worms, and it's a power source. And not quite sure what it powers, but it looks like anything magical. Anything magical. It was good. So we finished and we had a rest. Oh, good. That was so good to have a rest. I was very fatigued. And then we're trying to decide where to go next, and we explored a bit. Found myself a nice shiny, well, new to me, actually quite old, I bet, javelin. It's very spiffy. It's very light. It's very strangely light. I bet I can throw this really far. And we explored as much as we could. Went to an exit, and we had gone in a circle and met up with goblins again. So hopefully we can find a way out of here. I hope we can find a way out of here.
Well, things are actually looking up. We had another fight. We fought with what seemed to be some kind of main power source for this place we're in. It was infected by parasites that were controlling it. So we fought those, and we fought very well. It was almost like we were some sort of professional group. We succeeded, and then we turned on every device in this entire facility because we don't know what any of them does, and that's the best way to find out, I suppose. That was probably the smart thing to do. And then we continued our explorations to try and find a way out. We found a bathroom. It was a mess. I didn't stop to clean it up. And then we found some stairs leading up that led us right back to where we started from. Yeah, well, progress. We found a way that isn't the way out. That narrows it down. Now, perhaps we'll try one of the other approaches, and perhaps that will let us out. I do hope that there is a way out. If there isn't, oh my. There's so much cleaning to be done here.
Oh, it's so pretty. It's like blue and green. And she always liked blue, and I always liked green things, so if you look deep inside, you can see little yellow lights, the color of Stacey's hair. There were all these things eating it, but we chased them away. We chased all the little worms away, and it's healthy and it's happy now. And oh, this is so beautiful. I knew that this was a healing dream.
I just want to get out of here and go home. This place sucks.